that I've told you some of the new thematics that we will be addressing today, this year, which are children, gender, conflict of interest, and a couple of very, very exciting topics that we will be discussing. And as I said, this year we will also have a lot of highlights on UN language and so on and so forth. I'll send out the slides as well. Maybe we can give more recommendations on how to be more concise and clear, designate a specific party when you're addressing and demanding your policy demand. Of course, avoid redundancy and push for evidence-based demands, and write the statements that are easy to lobby and easy to understand. This is our framework for this year's and timetable for the GYS, so it will be ready very soon in the next couple of weeks. So check your spam folder and check your email and make sure that you are updated. I just want to ask also before we start, did anyone participate in this year's hackathons on the online calls? Umar, Ahmed, did you participate in the hackathons? Would you like to share with us your experience?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed Oda. I am actually the contact point of ACE working group in Yango. And we had the hackathon for ACE and also for the regional COI. And I was leading the ACE from the global level. And we collected as much as from the inputs from all the youth that they are in the working group of ACE. Also, we opened the call for the regional COI of hackathon, and it was focusing about health, ACE, finance, and also adaptations. So we collected from the regional also MENA youth, and we collected from the global one of the working group in Yango. Thank you. Over to you.
Umar is one of the youngest also contributors.
So the Global Youth Statement Hackathon was actually really engageable, and I've contributed with the youth team from Yango regarding the climate finance and markets working group, and other individuals had actually done the hackathon in 2 different time zones to ensure that everyone is going to participate. Thank you.
Mashkur.
Hello, everyone. I was fortunate to participate in the ACE and the health hackathon. I think the most important thing was the fact that we're able to kind of synthesize the contributions, both from individual, from the LCOIs, from the ALCOIs, and also from the working group. Ultimately, it's all to get the voices of youth and so that they are representative in the youth statement.
Thank you so much, team, for your kind feedback. So I just wanted to, this wasn't planned, by the way. So but this is very spontaneous, just to reflect that how different perspectives can come to the same process, making sure that we are able to reflect that. So I just want to make sure that we are very transparent and very able to understand where our position into things when we discuss youth policy. Mainly, youth are not negotiators, which is good. So you can raise the ambition and make sure that you are pushing for the maximum limit of things. And it is very important to keep the language simple and straightforward, and make sure that language is very important for the negotiators. So that will create a lot of resistance, because these words being commitments, and it will take a lot of efforts to make these commitments into action. So simple, short, concise. This is what we are aiming for. Maybe I'll go very importantly on multilateral instruments, multilateral environment agreements, and treaties and framework convention, just to make sure that we have different perspectives into context. So the multilateral environment agreement is part of, do you know something that is very well known for Watan, for multilateral environmental agreement? Yes, UNFCCC. I think understanding these terms is very important for the youth, so we can reflect on what are the things that we want to demand and from whom. Open question for everyone. one very important question. Where do we come to a resolution? Hence, like we say, resolution number X, Y, Z. Hence, so that's the General Assembly. So no answer. That was what New York. So just to understand, there's difference between decisions, agreements, and resolutions. So there's different places onto that. We have a very detailed presentation and the recording of like 50 slides of this, and I would love to take it into details more with you, but just for the sake of time, I just wanted to tease you today and to give you a teaser about the capacity building activity that we do at Yango for policy writing. And also we do knock on the doors of MEAs and make sure that we also are aware of the different MEAs. Does anyone know what MEAs means? I didn't know, so it's okay if you don't know. MEAs means multilateral environmental agreements, and we will be sharing the presentation with you with more details, and that will really help us to navigate through your demands and help us to transfer the knowledge and to make your demands into more actionable items. I'll leave it at there, and I'll ask my colleague Watan to continue.
Thank you so much for your insightful word and for taking us into introduction for this topic today, the policy making. Now, our perspectives panelists, we're going to have the stage for some guiding questions on the policy making, how the UN agencies and organizations envision the youth inclusion. For the first one, we have the UNDP. How does your respective agency, the UNDP, envision the youth inclusion in the regional and national policies? How do they include them?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Wonton. So complex question, big question, and I just would like to start off by thanking everyone for taking your time to be here. It glads me to see so many youth here in the same room. Starting off, UNDP is working under the Climate Promise, it's called. So it's a global initiative, and especially for the MENA region, we have around 10 countries where we work with enhancing NDCs, making sure that youth voices are included in the consultations and the update of the NDCs. So as an example, in the Horn of Africa and Sudan, where we also work, we had several sessions with youth where they were able to design what they wanted to see in NDCs that were later communicated to the Minister of Environment and the entire Ministry of Finance and Planning. Because what we see usually is that, yeah, the NDCs are developed, they're formulated, but then at the end of the day, there is no really a financial support behind it. So what we try to do is also try to include the Ministry of Planning, the Ministry of Finance, and also, of course, youth. So that's one. And then as our Assistant Secretary General highlighted, we also do translate these policies into action on the ground. And so I have my colleague here from the Rome Youth Center, where we basically provide financial and technical support for SMEs, youth-led SMEs, that can also contribute to different innovative solutions, and also build the technical capacity of youth in order to make sure that action on the ground is also translated into policy and decision-making. Then I'm also going to highlight that we're also working with, we have a regional project, which is called the SDG Climate Facility, where I'm going to highlight one specific case where we work in a refugee camp in Jordan, and giving the opportunity to displaced people to give them a platform to showcase their innovative solutions around water security, food security, that is later being communicated to the government in Jordan too. That's just very briefly, yeah.
Thank you so much, Benj. And yeah, Climate Promise Project is one of the biggest UNDP projects that everyone in the MENA region have to check and definitely be included in. Now, maybe we can hear from the UNICEF. How do you envision youth and children inclusion in the youth, policy processes?
Thank you very much, Watan. So in UNICEF, we've been adopting a new mantra for the past few years, and it says, nothing for young people without young people. So this is quite a fundamental shift in the way that we approach child and youth programming in UNICEF, moving away from seeing young people as passive beneficiaries and instead engaging them as allies and partners for positive change. And one way we do that is by including them in our decision-making processes. And a great example of that is their participation and influence in our new global climate strategy, which is called the Sustainability and Climate Change Action Plan, which will be released prior to COP. And that global strategy has 3 different pillars, and one of them is the inclusion of children and young people in our climate change strategy. And I just want to read that statement because I think it's a quite a powerful one, and I want to unpack it a little bit. It says that UNICEF will empower every child with the education, skills, and opportunities to be a champion for the planet. So I like this statement a lot. Every child, that speaks to the inclusivity that we really aspire to, right? Especially the most vulnerable populations around this world. Focus on education, of course, looking at how we can incorporate climate change education into schools, as well as promote environmental clubs, both formal and non-formal. And the focus on skills, really skilling adolescents and young people in advocacy, on negotiations, on the soft skills that are required as well as green and entrepreneurial skills that are necessary for the just transition. And none of these trainings or education would really amount to the change we want to see without the opportunities. And that's the last part of the statement, right? Creating those opportunities for children and young people to engage meaningfully and sustainably and systematically at both national, regional, and global levels. And so for the MENA region, we've adopted sort of 3 key pathways to implement that strategy. And one of them is in terms of the formal engagement in the UNFCCC processes and fora. So as an example, we've been deepening our relationship with Youngo and supporting additional LCOIs. I think last year we did 2, and this year we've supported 10 across the MENA region. Similarly, with the COP presidency and YCC, we've been engaging and supporting their efforts to build that bridge between the global youth statement and processes into the actual formal COP proceedings. And in line with that, we've supported the great effort to include young people in official national delegations as both negotiators and observers. This we feel is a very critical step to ensure that young people are actually at the table negotiating and informing and influencing policy. This is supported with 2 other pathways. One is youth-led action through volunteerism to take action in their communities. We feel that this needs to complement the official negotiation track and the advocacy and the policy. We need to see young people take more steps in their communities because we believe this will inspire greater change. And to support that, we also want to engage in more social behavioral change campaigns with young people at the heart, kind of building on their, as the regional director mentioned, their fluency with social media and their ability to use this media to influence and nudge behaviors, perceptions, and attitudes in each of the societies in the Middle East. So with that, we see a very sort of holistic approach to including young people in the climate agenda here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex, for these insightful words as well. Maybe now we can hear from the government perspective and COP28 presidency, how youth can be involved, and what are your plans for COP28?
Sure. So I think to start off from the COP28 presidency side, we recognized early on the importance and impact of youth. And this was done specifically when we appointed a youth climate champion to continue off the great work that was done in COP27 with a youth envoy, but to really push it forward. And so under this role, what we're trying to do is a lot of these activities that are being mentioned, the global youth statement, ensuring youth are a part of the negotiations, bringing them to the table, we hope will be encompassed under this role, which the ambition is that this role gets, formalized at the end of COP, and that every COP moving forward will have a youth climate champion, and all of these different initiatives would be housed under this champion and then coordinated across the different entities such as UNICEF and UNDP and Youngo, of course, which is a key partner for us. But in terms of how we're engaging youth specifically, maybe I can give a few examples. So the first is we launched a program which is the funding of 100 youth delegates, primarily looking at youth that are impacted by climate change on the ground and youth that from specifically small island states and LDCs. And those youth, and that program is kind of twofold. The first part is really providing them the opportunity and building their capacity on the terminologies and the frameworks and the negotiations process. And we're doing that very closely with Youngo, who is a partner in this program, in addition to the UNFCCC and Harvard University to deliver those courses for them. In addition to that, a lot of our delegates, or all of them, have had opportunities to attend the regional climate weeks. We have some of them here today with us, and also applying that knowledge that they're learning to the actual process. All of them will be at COP. But this is not exclusive to those 100 delegates, because we get the question asked, like, what about everyone else that was not able to be a part of this program? And so what we are going to provide at COP28 through three kind of hubs that we have, 2 of them in the blue zone and 1 in the green zone, will be specific programming, capacity building for youth that attend COP. We recognize that's a gap, and we are actually trying to avoid having panels talking about how youth should be engaged and what we need to do, because I think we all know what they need and what they want. So we're trying to really curate the day, which is the 8th of December, to make sure that it's really providing them the skills that they need in building that capacity. We've also, so the 3 zones are, we'll have a youth and children's pavilion like in COP27, which will be in the blue zone. We'll have a youth climate champions pavilion in the blue zone, which will also have very specific training. And then, of course, we'll have a very exciting and fun youth hub in the green zone. And then to also add on to that in terms of providing access for capacity building for youth, we've also worked and through our consultations we've had across the year with Her Excellency Sham Al-Mazroui, who is our youth climate champion, in addition to our COP president, His Excellency Dr. Sultan. They've made an effort to meet with youth, and every time they sit with them, the one thing they keep hearing is we need capacity building to be able to sit at the table and to contribute in the way that we'd like to, because there's a lot of terminologies that are technical. And so what we've done is we've launched in partnership with Coursera, specifically 100 courses that will cover the key pillars of the negotiation. So this covers mitigation, adaptation, loss and damage, and finance. Those 5,000 licenses will be given out to youth globally to be able to access these courses and understand the discussion. So when they come to COP, they actually know how they can contribute. In addition to this, from a presidency's perspective, what we've tried to do and push for is in meetings that we've had with lead negotiators from different countries and with senior government officials is really push for them to not only bring youth as a part of their delegations, because that's easy, right, to just include a young person, but how do you actually get them on the table, actually negotiating, discussing the topics? So we've been pushing for meaningful youth engagement and participation in the formal process. And this has been done through a letter that we sent out to all parties, but it's also being done on a day-to-day basis with these different countries that we're meeting with. And so those are just maybe some examples. I'll stop there, but happy to maybe add on to additional things maybe later on. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that, and we look forward for these promises and plans for COP28 for all the youth, and especially the MENA youth. Now, after we hear from the UN agencies and the COP28, let's give the floor for the youth to speak about themselves, how they've been involved before.
Thank you, Watan, and thank you all for being with us today. Actually, we are in Act Sustainable. We are know how to act. So this is our word and this is our work. Back in 2018, I was just a young person. I attended the COP and COI in Poland. And then I said, why we didn't have these things here in Egypt or in the MENA region? So we initiated the first local COI in the MENA region in Egypt back in 2019. And this was the first step to have the youth policy work, the youth policy discussions from the grassroots. We had these kind of different sessions telling them how to build a policy, what is the terminologies that we have, and what is the history of UNFCCC and this process. And then we had the first youth statement from Egypt and from the MENA region. And then after that, we thought it might be the first local COI in the MENA region. Why not we have more local COIs in the region as well? So we try to work with different youth in different countries in the MENA region, and now we have different local COIs in the MENA region. We trained them how to run these events, how to implement these projects on the ground. And we have here like young people from different countries running LCOIs. We have here, for example, Ola from Syria. They're running the first local COI in Syria this year. So this is the impact that we are trying to do. And back like the last year, we tried to host, like to have the regional perspective on the policy making, engaging youth. So last year we had the first RCOI for youth in MENA region in Dubai with our partners as well. So this is like the fourth trial. 3 trials was failed before that, but and this year we are working on the second one. From the local side, we are trying to have our events and our activities include more youth in it. So, for example, when we started the local COI, we had around 120 youth attending. Then we had around 400. We tried to bring youth from different cities in Egypt, and then we have now we are running like sub events in different cities in Egypt to include all youth from all governorates. So we have different perspective according to the city-based demands, the city-based solutions, and city-based perspectives. So this is why we're trying to engage youth. And also we have this pillar this year. We are engaging with people who are immigrants and people who are facing these refugees in Egypt, and these people, they are part of the LCOI in Egypt as well. So this is how we include different youth with us. And finally, I just want to highlight that we are trying to push forward with working closely with the government, working closely with the UN. So this year we have this initiative in Egypt, the government working with the UNICEF on the seed of the first youth negotiators in Egypt. So we have the first team who will be the negotiation part of the government negotiator somehow. This is just a seed. So this is coming after our work with the government, our work with the UN. So this is what we are trying to do. We try to implement on the ground. We try to put the action directly. So this is our way of implementation. And actually, just this year, I was talking with Omar, telling him, you are very young and you have this knowledge. How did you gain this knowledge? It's a very good background. Omar told me, actually, I was attending the local COI last year. So this is my first engagement to the climate. So this is the way that we are trying to engage youth. And after that, we see them, they are leading and they are pushing forward than we expect. So this is my intervention.
Thank you so much, Hussam. And adding to what Hussam said, this year, in a few months, there will be the Regional Conference of Youth for the MENA Youth, hosted by Act Sustainable, بصمتنا غيرنا, Sultanate of Oman, and Youth in Green. We'd love to see all the MENA youth participating in these policy-making opportunities. Now, coming back to the UN agencies and asking them, what are like the capacity building tools that you use on the ground to empower youth in your respective projects? Maybe start with the UNICEF.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, maybe we'll start with another principle at UNICEF, which was to really ensure that there's no training that's not directly linked to action, right? Training for training's sake has limited impact. So what we've been trying to really do is create pathways where we build capacity of young people, and it's directly linked to some sort of climate action. Either that's at the negotiation table, or it's in your community, or it's in your country at large. So those three pathways I talked about in my last intervention, along those three pathways, we've been trying to align our capacity building investments for adolescents and young people throughout. So one of the ones that we're really proud of, because we cooperated with UNDP, it's called the Young Climate Activist Toolkit. And this is a great sort of 4-module set that really sets the baseline for climate education and an awareness. It really provides that sort of overview, which is particularly helpful from the ages of 10 to 24. It's a big age range, but it's one of our sort of key entry points in terms of capacity building for youth. Now, the other ones get a little bit more sophisticated and more focused. One of the newest ones this year, since we are supporting young people in official delegations to COP28 this year, for the first time, we all recognize that those young people can't just be thrown into COP, which is overwhelming, and that they need to be prepared. And so we've designed a master class that will be face-to-face as well as online, including a 3-day in-person COP simulation, specifically for those young people that have been designated by their national governments as part of the official delegation. Now, there'll be a few that are UNICEF badge holders as well, but that's a really focused capacity building training for negotiators. And we also don't want to just be focused on the COPs, right? These are incredibly important events, but we want a more holistic, sustained engagement of young people. And so we are looking at, what do we do the rest of the year? And how do we continue to build capacity and engage young people in other things that are happening and other climate action that we feel are needed to be taken? So for that, we have a climate leadership training, which really focuses on NDCs and NAPs at the national level and continuing the advocacy pre and post COP to ensure, some progress and accountability on some of the commitments and promises that were made. And then, really looking at the very granular level, we have this intervention called participatory action research, which works at the municipal and the community level. So that's really going down to the grassroots and working with young people to help them build their research skills, their advocacy skills, and it really links up with municipal level decision making to take local level action in terms of adaptation and building resilience. And we have a few more, but I think I'll stop there in the interest of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Now we have remotely the UNFPA, if they can join. We have Rand Al-Khushman, a young climate activist from Jordan, to take us into the capacity building tools that they are using to empower youth. Eva?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
That's what I love about technology. We are gathering together, but virtually and in person. So,
Welcome.
Okay, Should I wait till?
Go ahead, please. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, we want to hear from you. What are the capacity building tools that are being utilized to empower youth to be included in the policy making processes in your perspective?
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be here with you, and so glad actually. First of all, I would like to introduce myself first. I'm Rand Al-Khushman, agricultural engineer and a Jordanian young activist in climate change and climate justice. And also I'm working as program coordinator for STEM Green Labs program, where we are working on education and climate change. Also, I am one of the founders for Youth4Climate initiative in Jordan. So actually, I started to introduce myself so I can go deep into the question. For the tools that we are using in raising the awareness about climate change and the climate justice issues in Jordan, we are using many tools, but these tools are like focused on raising the awareness, because we do care, we do understand that without raising the awareness about the climate change, we will not achieve actually the other things that we are aiming to. And because we have many challenges regarding of this, like let's speak about our main thing of our session, like the NDCs, COPs, and all of these stuff. So we have like lack of awareness, we have limited to access to information, economic challenges for even in Jordan and even in the MENA. In the MENA region. So actually the tools that we are using, let's speak about the education first. Actually, we are working on empowering many students at universities with the skills that they need to find the solution that came from their from the problem that they are facing. Like we are working on the empathy approach more, depending on the design thinking, on the problem-based learning, and these things. Also, in Youth4Climate, we are working on many indirect and direct ways. For example, we are working on doing climate festivals. Climate festival that it's for example, it's target all the categories of the community. Started from the adolescent, ending with the adults, let's say. So, and we are including many tools like debates, like this kind of stuff. Also, because we do believe in the participatory approach and how peer-to-peer things is so important for young people. So after that, we are doing our initiative. We one of our goals for this year is to exchange the knowledge for other initiative in Jordan, and be as a mentorship, like having this mentorship for them to work on a climate initiative to raise the awareness on that. So many tools are actually coming when youth is part of that. So regarding the limited of time, I'll stop here, and if there is any question, of course I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rand, for that. Maybe jumping back to the COP28 team, want to let you ask, how can youth hold the governments accountable for the commitments, for the agreements that we make every year, annually, for the 28 years for this year?
That's a really good question. And I think from a presidency's perspective, that's kind of what we're trying to push for across all of the pillars. And I think the way that we can do that is under the umbrella of the global stocktake, which I think is what provides us kind of that framing. And just for everyone who doesn't know, the global stocktake, and that's why COP28 is going to be really a milestone COP, is because it's the first time since those agreements that governments have made in Paris, where they will be, checking to see where are we based on those commitments. And we all know we are way off of those targets. We've surpassed them, and we are not close to getting them committed. So from the COP28 side, our narrative has been, how can we course correct and set medium to short-term targets that can get us to those long-term targets that we set out in Paris. And it's under this umbrella that we can do the same thing for youth, right? Because in Sharm el-Sheikh, through the Sharm el-Sheikh implementation plan, and also in Glasgow, there were commitments that were made by member states to include youth in a more meaningful way. But no one's really tracking to see how are we doing against these commitments that we've made. So we've been working very closely with Youngo and some of you that were probably in the session that passed earlier today to work on something called a youth stocktake, which we launched at SB 58 in Bonn. And basically, this is a process to kind of map out and look at where are we since those commitments that we've made to supporting youth in Glasgow and in Bonn. And so the process is undergoing by a few researchers that we have working with Youngo specifically, and we hope to launch this report by COP28. So this report, though, is not right now included as a part of the global stocktake process. So what we're trying to do is also figure out a way in which it can be more formally recognized as a part of this. And so that moving forward, once commitments are made, individuals, governments are held accountable for those commitments. And I know that's something really our COP president is pushing for is accountability. So no more open commitments and promises for things that we cannot deliver. And we hope that COP28 can be that turning point in the process to get governments, civil society, NGOs thinking about, how do we actually achieve these goals that we're putting together? So I think one of those could be through the youth stocktake. I think the second example is through formalizing this role of this youth climate champion, because once you have a role that is then accountable for all of these different areas that we're talking about, whether it's the youth stocktake or including youth more in the negotiations process, you have a place to channel this through. And then that one champion can then push and coordinate across the different sectors with the UN agencies and others to make sure that those are things that are continued from COP to COP. So it's also making sure if we want to hold governments accountable, there needs to be someone there that does that. We hope that can be the youth climate champion role and that role continuing. And we, just as we have with the high level champion and kind of engaging and mobilizing private sector. So we hope that can happen on the youth side. And I would say that, those are two maybe examples of how that can happen from our perspective.
Thank you so much. And we will come to COP holding governments and parties accountable for that. Coming back to our agreements, the Paris Agreement, the goals, how can we accelerate the progress toward implementing these goals on the ground, hearing from the UNDP?
All right, thank you very much actually for the question. And I'm happy here to provide and showcase an important puzzle of the UNDP offer when it comes to youth and climate action. And when it comes to your question, actually, how to strengthen the role of youth organization in this important field in implementation of the Paris Agreement. I'm from the UNDP Rome Center that is implementing with the support of the Italian government that I thank you very much, the initiative Youth4Climate. And Youth4Climate is exactly, I think, that address exactly this point, combining from one end a concrete approach to climate action. So basically supporting youth organization in implementing projects and concrete solution in the field of climate action with technical assistance and financial support. And this, I think that is a very important moment to showcase and to present Youth4Climate, because we are hosting in Rome next week leaders, youth organization, activists, in order exactly to create this momentum where actually youth and youth organization and young, they are connected with policymakers, with actually the support that UNDP is doing in the run-up to COP and in the run-up of the second edition of Youth4Climate that will be held and will be designed in next year. I will be more than happy after the panel to remain a bit with you and who is going to be and is interested to know more about how Youth4Climate can concretely support to advance in this direction. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, UNDP. Wrapping up with the youth, we want to hear from you. What are the hopes and what do you demand from these UN agencies, UNFCCC, presidency and governments? What are the needs and demands of the MENA youth? What do they want now?
Actually, this is a very big question. When it comes to the youth needs, we are talking about many things, but I think the first priority is education, the access to education. So this is the first important thing that we should start from. Also, the co-creation. Actually, we have like many of our programs, we try to engage youth into creation process. So they came up with very creative ideas, how to reach to them, how to deliver the information in a way that they can relate and they can understand. So this is the thing. And also the third one is we are in the MENA region. We are facing some challenges through maybe paperwork somehow. So working with UN organizations, some challenging for some youth organizations. They can't have this capacity to go through these processes. So we have this recommendation to make some exceptions, maybe some rules to youth-led initiatives to ease this process for them. Yeah, so this is I think the main three things that we can work through.
Thank you so much, Hussam, and thank you all, UNDP, UNICEF, COP28, and the Youth Act Sustainable. We are wrapping up this panel and transitioning to another interactive thing, which is the roundtable. My colleague Ahmed Ouda will be moderating. We are hoping from all of you to participate in this. Ahmed, thank you all.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. Good. You're still alive. Thank you. Okay. My name is Ahmed Ouda. I will be the moderator for the roundtable. I'm so glad to just announce that we have 6 working groups from different 5 member states. KSA, we have the UAE, we have Morocco, we have Jordan, we have Italy. And I would like from the policymakers to raise their hands so the youth, they can recognizing you. The policymakers, please raise your hands. Okay, I see the KSA confirmed, UAE, Morocco, Italy. Yes, okay. Thank you. Jordan, thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm so glad right now to announcement them. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. From Morocco, we have the distinguished delegate from Morocco, Mr. Ayman al-Sharkawi. He is the director of Al Hassan International Center of Environmental Training at Mohammed Sadis Foundation for Environmental Protection. Come. We have from Jordan, Sarah Al-Halig, head of adaptation section of climate change, Ministry of Environment, Jordan. We have from our beloved country and our hosting country is KSA, Mr. Abdulaziz Bouti, International Policy Specialist. We have also from the KSA, which is the generalist country with us, we have Ayel Al-Garni, International Policy Specialist. Also, we have from the UAE, the COP28, the hosting of the COP. We have Shama Rashid, a climate change analyst with 4 years experience with the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, working specifically on adaptation planning, the Climate Change Research Network, climate science, action for a climate empowerment, international engagement and negotiations. Wow. Wow. And also we have from Italy, His Excellency Franco Corvaro, Italian Special Envoy on Climate Change. Welcome with us, sir. So right now, let me explain simply about the questions. Is there the presentation? Yes. So we have here the guiding question, which is about the icebreakers. So these icebreakers simply with yes or no question, and which will be taking only 5 minutes. In these actually questions, it's gonna be general to just give you the overview about what is happening with the youth. And then we're gonna be moving into the more deep questions. Can you move the slides down? Then we have the more deep questions. The first one will be covered from all working groups, which is how can young people be better supported in acquiring the necessary resources and opportunities to engage in climate policy making for the long term. This question will be covered by all the roundtables. And then each country, they will have a specific question from the working group 1, from the working group 2, from the working group 3. These actually questions has been informed into the member state representative, and they're gonna be guiding you which question they're gonna be asking you. Also, there will be one of the international youth delegate with you in the table to help you into the facilitating. And then after that, we're gonna have a report back, which is from each working group, there will be a representative youth, will be a report back from each working group. After that, we're going to be asking the member states what's their reflection on actually what happens on this table. All this will be taking 20 minutes. So the time is clocking from now. Good luck, all.
بواحد من المساولات Okay, tamam. عادي.
This one you have to close it because of the voice after the talk. Thank you. The
state representative to come over here and to stand with us. Not everyone. I will be requesting the first working group from the UAE. From the UAE.
Because, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the UAE table with us. We have the youth representative and we have the member state representative. So I'm going to give the floor first to the youth to give the report back and then having the reflections on behalf of the member states. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Attention, please.
Basically, he's going to give a summary on what we talked about.
And I'll just add up to it. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm so happy that you're enjoying the discussion. But now I would love for the UAE to present the discussion at the table. So we have a young person and also the moderator. So if we can just focus our eyes and ears towards our two presenters, and then we'll switch to the other tables. Thank you so much for being so interactive. Please go ahead.
Hello, so I am Apollinaire Sebastian Mendoza. I was the representative for the UAE table, and we talked about how each of our different countries suffers from different lacks of climate spaces. And we talked about how it usually depended on the state of the country. My country, for example, the United States, we're fortunate enough that we have these spaces dedicated to climate because we have our needs met. Countries such as Mexico, Haiti, Jordan, these are countries that the people usually don't have their needs met, and they don't have the time nor the materials to create these climate spaces. Countries such as the UAE, the United States, these are where you see more climate spaces, more gardening clubs, more time in town halls, trying to organize more of the conversation dedicated to trying to create these climate spaces. And we talked about a few of the ways we can improve upon these climate spaces. And we talked about improving transparency. So we can have some students shadowing some industry leaders, shadowing some policy leaders. We need to have students making the initiative and searching for some solutions within their cities, because there are entire websites called ground shakers dedicated to finding these solutions. So there are some words from the youth representative. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul, for the summary. And again, I don't have much to add up to what Paul was saying. Mainly our discussion kind of focused on that some countries, some parties are more privileged than others. Some countries have like he said, the space for them to actually focus on how to include youth in the climate space. Others are more crippled with other challenges like corruption and not having enough resources and stuff like that. So kind of the idea behind it is like to kind of understand how your government operates and then to not only expect from your country's government to be the lead when it comes to climate change and how to include youth in climate spaces, is to take also personal responsibility to kind of reach out, seeing how you could increase your knowledge when it comes to climate literacy, and then seeing how else that you could be part of climate space, even if you do not necessarily have the support of your government in the background. So that's kind of the main focus that we have mentioned.
Thank you so much. And we're going to be requesting you for the family photo from Laura. Wait, Shama. You're going to be having a photo with the youth. Okay, thank you. So we're going to have the one group photo. Okay. Like I'm just updated now. Okay. So the next working group from Morocco, and I would like to invite Mr. Ayman Sharkawi and the youth representative.
Can I take something?
Okay, that's great.
Hello, everyone. So on our side, like we were actually doing the working group. The question was, as many countries across the MENA region are facing poly crisis, and how are you addressing the unique challenges and vulnerabilities, particularly those from marginalized communities, and also how we can empower them. So in case in our actual group, we had China, Colombia, no, Bolivia and Egypt and Mexico, and from Italy also. So what they said, like they just said, first we have to actually connect the communities, we have to actually educate them with skills development. And also we have to explore how we can include them into to conserve the environment by actually involve them into a nature-based solution. And also how there is something which is very important. Money is actually the foundation of everything. So we have to actually try to create a framework where actually money have directly to go to the communities and also help them how they can conserve the environment. And we were saying something very important. MENA, there is a cultural background, which is very important. We have to know how we can try to see how we can, I don't know, work something on cultural background. And we have in Egypt also, they say something very important. There is a lot of small landowners who have actually, they don't have support from the government. So we have to create a partnership, which is a direct technical assistance from the government, where they will be helping directly the small landowners. And another one also, something very important, is actually about the coral reef, where communities actually are having less fishery because there is a degradation of corals. So we have to know how we can include them into conservation of corals, at the same time also how they can protect it. And I think I'm done. I did this.
Well, thank you. I think well, first a round of applause for this amazing report. What I simply would very briefly add to add, the substance is exactly that, is to indicate to always think of the policy landscapes in which you operate, to see how you can concretely reach some outputs and outcomes for all these important issues, know which ministries to work with, know which level of government to work with, and be strategic about that. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was an amazing group. We call it the cool group because it was the coolest because of the people in it, but also because we're right next to the AC. So we're keeping the temperature really low. 1.5.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayman. So I am going now into the host country group, which is working group 3, starting with Mr. Abdulaziz and the youth representative to take over the floor. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Mohammed Ahmadi, one of the COP28 International Youth Climate Delegates. So at our table, we had a great discussion. We had people from Yemen, from Spain, from Zambia, from Saudi Arabia, and from Egypt. Okay, So one of the things, some of the things we talked about for the overarching question were that climate policy needs to be mainstreamed in education. People need to be taught from a young age about these things. Since we know the climate processes are very complicated, there's lots of language that is very, very complex. And if youth don't know these language, they can't really be involved in these spaces, even if they're in them. We talked about there's a great lack of awareness of opportunities. Many people from Spain, from Egypt, they mentioned. And we talked about how we need to give opportunities to youth in rural areas and to marginalized youth. We need to give them funding and finances, and we need to get them involved on the national, regional, and global level. Yes. So again, we need to make opportunities known. We need to teach youth how they can impact policy. And the reason why youth don't get involved partially is they don't know about these opportunities. Another thing we mentioned is that we need greater interest and will from policymakers to include youth. And our people from Spain mentioned how there is great the level of awareness and concern about issues such as climate change in Spain about with youth, but they don't know how to act, and they don't feel heard, and they don't feel motivated. They feel discouraged because they see they can't really impact policy. And other things we discussed on our question about what things exist in the region to get youth involved in climate policy. Our delegate from Saudi Arabia mentioned that they run workshops in the region for Arab negotiators and youth negotiators in the region. We mentioned how we need to have youth involved in NDCs and strategic plans from countries. And we need to have direct contact with policymakers. We know in many developing countries, youth can't really have direct contact. We need meaningful partnerships, and we need support and financial technical know-how for youth and youth groups. And that's pretty much it. So I'll pass it on.
Round of applause for Mohammed. He's doing a great job. Thank you very much. I don't know how to add to this because he had actually covered all of our discussion. And I think one of the major things that we can just take as more of a takeaway from our table, which are the ACE elements. I think one of the main issues that we are having had to do with education, international cooperation, training, and awareness, and all of that. So I think this is our responsibility as countries, as part of the MENA region, to actually ensure that these elements are implemented, and actually the youth have the access to actually be part of the policy making and decision making within the process. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And also, as actually the contact point of ACE in Yango, we are requesting the member states to support the ACE from the finance, because we're having huge gap in the finance. Okay, also the second representative from case A, Ayal Al-Garni, with the youth representative, you can take the floor. Welcome.
Is it on? Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Mohildin. I'm with the International Youth Climate Delegation Program, which is, as you know, is like a partnership between COP, the representative of COP 28 and Yongo. So we had a very much beautiful and diverse group. Most of the only thing that is like a little bit like maybe disappointing that none of the youth within the group had, or just a large percentage of the group didn't have any engagement with climate issues and climate spaces. And as we discussed, most of it was due to the lack of information and the information relation. So they don't feel like, oh, I get the information about what's happening in the climate world, what is happening to the world, even though I'm a young person and it's going to affect me the most. They believe that maybe a good idea or a good way to fight through that is to start early with the introduction of climate issues, maybe in schools from an early age. And maybe it should be just mandatory as a subject, because it's something that is affecting their lives in a great way. So maybe if it started just from the first grade, second grade, in a very informative way, but it's simplistic and that doesn't confuse them from the young age, and as they go on, they're introduced to more complex ideas, and they will be, by the age that they are like adults, they will be fully integrated, they understand exactly what is going on with the climate world and what is going on with the global what is happening in the environmental matters. As for the problem policies, due to them being quite young and most of them not knowing what is happening in the climate world. So I think the UNFCCC, the recent endeavors is going to cover that. I think it already started to include more youth. As you can see, there's a lot of youth here and there being introduced into new information. And as we go on and through the efforts that is going to be happening in the future, there's going to be more inclusion, and maybe next time all of the youth will be fully acknowledged and fully understanding what is happening in the climate world. So I'll just push it here if you want to add anything.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. I would not like to add anything more to what my colleague has said, just a few pointers. But before I get into that, I just like to give a shout out to the name of the room we're in today. Does anyone know what is NEOM, or has anyone ever heard of NEOM? So NEOM is a new city that's being, built fully by renewable energy capacity, and it's going to be sustainable 100%. So I'm very glad to be speaking in this room and to at least shed some light on this new and amazing future-like city that we're very proud of. So I am a youth. I am in the Ministry of Energy, and I am a negotiator on behalf of the kingdom and oftentimes on behalf of the Arab countries. And it brings me great pleasure to see some of my fellow young, youth who are very excited about climate change as I am. We discussed some of the gaps, and that include lack of awareness, resources, tools. There's a lack of climate literacy in a lot of places, and a lot of, I guess, a mismatch actually between what's available and what youth know about. So with education, like my colleague has mentioned, I think that will build our awareness and that will help youth be able to determine and identify those opportunities that help them to get engaged. Like, for example, one of our members in our group mentioned that she just learned about Youngo and she's very excited to be engaged in that. And I think another also member from Egypt mentioned that the opportunity in Egypt to host the COP has got her involved. So it is through these awareness campaigns or these huge events that happen that will help these young people be able to know where those opportunities are. And I think with that, if I've missed anything, please come up here and fill it in. Good.
Thank you so much.
That was a great point, actually, because youth inclusion. If anybody wants to add something, you can. Do you want to add something from the group? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our last speaker from Jordan and the youth representative, you can take the floor, Ms. Sarah.
Hello, everyone. This is Jordan, a working group. And as a result of our discussion, we found that there's still a gap in involving all youth around the world. We are so lucky maybe to be here, and we are also lucky to have digital channels and tools to learn more and join activities for climate change. But at the same time, there is a lot of youth around the world with different situations, physical, economic, or any other situations that they maybe doesn't allow youth to engage such activities. So we're reaching that we should communicate with different youth around the world through different communities, especially vulnerable communities. At the same time, policymakers says that we should and we must engage youth. For the question that is mentioning about the necessary resources for engaging youth in the climate policy making, we mainly discussed that there will be a huge and importance dependence on education. We should raise awareness for youth, provide training for youth, and also provide funding and different resources for lead youth initiatives that support nationally determined contributions, mitigation and adaptation agendas. The last issue that is talking about the goals of youth climate advocate. We found that the main and the foundation of that should be spreading and sharing knowledge and education among youth and to be really involved in the climate change work in their countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Muhammad, and thanks for everyone. I will wrap up with a new window for discussions that been discussed in our group, that we hear the needs for youth. What do they need to be fully engaged in the policymakers process, but also for them to be fully engaged and to have the support that they need. The policymakers need to see that those youth are willing to be in the process and they have the level of knowledge that we need to have it from their side. This type of given and taken from policymakers' perspectives and from youth perspectives, hopefully will increase the level of engagement for youth in the policymaking process and in all climate change agenda in each countries and hopefully in the international. Thank you and thanks for having me here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for joining with us. And I would like to give the closing remarks to Joanna from the COP28 presidency team.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, I know it's been a long session, but I hope you enjoyed it. It was great to hear your words and discussions. Mashkoor, can I have your attention? So everyone, my name is Joanna. I come from the COP28 Presidency Youth Team. I would just want to say thank you so much for joining this session today. COP28, I think, will be a huge milestone for the youth agenda. So I hope you all will join us in this great journey that we've embarked on. And thank you so much for our hosts of the MENA Climate Week. Thank you so much, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You have been excellent in hosting us. And also it was a pleasure to see His Royal Highness being so supportive of the youth agenda. So this is exactly what we need from member states and young people. You're doing so much and we are behind you every step of the way from the presidency side. Thank you so much.